we are going to look at how to properly inspect an apartment. We are outside of apartment 11. So the first thing that you do is you just observe the light fixture, make sure it's not broken, the door frame, see if there's any paint that's chipped, the threshold. This is a storage unit that goes with it. It's been raining here, so that's why there's dirt on the door. Otherwise, it would be really clean for the turn. Is it locked? It should be. Then we've already put the key in. So what you want to do is make sure that it unlocks easily. This is an elderly property, so you want to make sure that they don't have to struggle, because a lot of elderly people have problems with their joints and things like that. You make sure that the door handle opens. While we're standing outside, we're going to take this key and see if it opens the storage door. And it does, because they should be keyed the same. And then we're going to look in here. So, because this wall, oh, it is painted. Okay. If it was not painted, it would be a REAC finding because it's not finished. I don't believe that the shelves are a REAC finding. However, that is a REAC finding because it's not painted, it's not finished in any way. Do you see? Then, if you see that light cover, how the string is all tied up around there, the tenant is not going to be able to reach that to turn their light on. Okay? So, in here, even though that's not something that we find major, that's a REAC finding as well because this isn't covered up and weather could get in here. So, do you see this?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that needs to be finished. So every time you guys go to turn a unit, this gets ignored a lot.
Right.
We need to make sure that the cleaning people are coming in here and sweeping this out. And we need to make sure that they're wiping these walls down just so that we give a good product to the resident. You know what I mean? And like if we need to freshen up the paint in here because it doesn't look like they painted it with the rehab, then we could do that too. Okay. Then you want to make sure that the lock works.
Do the shelves need to be painted or just the walls?
I would paint it if you paint them. I mean, if you're gonna paint them, I would go ahead and paint those shelves.
All right.
Like I said, I don't believe that that is a REAC finding because it's not the structure of the building, but it could potentially be. Sometimes you get REAC inspectors who are really anal about stuff. This could possibly be a REAC finding because it's not painted.
Okay.
Plus, with weather, you want it to be protected from the weather, so
Yeah.
you're not having to replace it later.
All right.
So yes, I'm just making sure that this lock works. Sorry. And that it seals. So you want to pull on it and make sure. Oh, apparently I did not do that right. All right, so then when you walk in, you want to first make sure that this light outside works. And it does. Okay. Then you're going to come in the unit, make sure the little marker works. I would take the tape off the door just so that you give somebody a good product. You know what I mean? Where do you guys clip notices?
We used to have clips out here, but now I just slide them through the door.
So what I would do is I would get
Buy some clips.
Bulldog, I think they're called Bulldog clips.
Yeah.
Buy them and install them. I would install them so that somebody who may be in a wheelchair can reach it. And then also when someone goes to unlock their door, it's right there. Okay. I wouldn't do it into the door, do it into the frame. Then you want to make sure that the door shuts on its own. So like you shut the door and you pull on the handle, it does not open at all. Make sure that this door lock locks easily. It's a little bit stiff. That could just be because it's new, but when you go to do them in the future, like just try to make sure that it's smooth.
Yeah.
Think about the clientele that you're, you know what I mean? And then just make sure your little peephole works. And then the light fixtures. This was rehab. Did they put the old light fixtures on? Because that's what it looks like.
They did. They
So what I would start doing on this unit for turns, like when you have the cleaning people come, don't worry about this one because you're moving someone in today. I would have them take these off, soak them in a bucket while they're cleaning. Or even when you go to do a turn, like when you first come in, take them all off, put them in a bucket to clean them, to get all the nastiness off of them, and then turn the power off and clean. Do you see that nasty dirt like inside of that?
Mm-hmm.
It's gross. And the thing is that how do you expect a tenant to keep the unit clean if we give them a unit that's nasty? I mean, it's not nasty, obviously, but you know what I'm saying. So, what does this light go to?
It goes to this plug.
To an outlet? Oh, okay. Okay, so then you want to make sure that everything's here, that there's door stoppers. What's up with the threshold down there? Is it just,
It's got paper on it that they didn't.
Plastic wrap.
They just didn't take the plastic wrap off.
so again, I mean, that doesn't mess with the integrity of what it does, but you want a good product. Even no matter what income base people are that are moving in, you want it to be a good product. You know what I mean? I feel like the yellowish colored outlet covers take away from this. You know what I mean? I feel like it would be better if they were white. You know what I mean? To match the door. Even like this, like did they not take that off when they painted? It looks like they taped around it and then just left it. Huh. And then that on the ceiling, I don't know what, looks like something scraped it. Which again, isn't a big deal, but the whole entirety of the unit, you want it to look good. When you go to do unit inspections, you want to make sure those are clean. When you do turns, you want to make sure they're clean, so you might take them down so the cleaning people can clean them and then put them back up so that every person that moves in isn't dealing with someone else's dirt.
Do you have a problem about taking them off and putting them in the dishwasher?
No, you can do that.
Okay.
Yep, that's fine. Yeah, and then you just make sure there's no holes like this. When we go to do a turn, you'd want to texture that and make it right instead of leaving that stuff. Yeah, and like this outlet cover was white and then they've put a yellow one on there. And so before you move somebody in, like you as a manager, you're gonna do a so once the maintenance person gives you back that turn sheet, right? And then you have your cleaning people come in and clean it. Before you move it in, you're gonna wanna walk through it because you want like any dead bugs, do you know what I mean, to be swept up off the floor. You want it to look fresh and nice so that somebody moves into a product that they wanna keep nice.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Then you want to make sure that all the blinds open, lock. You want to make sure, let me open it a little bit more, that these, you have to make sure that your windows open and stay open by themselves. There's no screen on that window.
Yeah.
So that screen needs to be replaced. Then all this stuff in here shouldn't be there. Like the cleaning people need to make sure that they're cleaning that. This right here, that could be from the old blinds. That's a REAC finding because something was there and it can't look like that. So Berto, if you ever take anything down and you're not planning on replacing it, you have to make sure all evidence of it is gone, or else it's a REAC finding. So you would need to fill in the holes, sand it, repaint it, is how you would fix that. And then like this, we don't want somebody having chipped up windowsills because then they're just gonna hit it with something. They're gonna be like, well, it doesn't matter because it was already like that. So make sure the windows open, stay open, unlock, lock, clean up the blinds.
This screen was also reported that it was missing as well.
Okay. So we're gonna wanna make sure that we replace that.
Okay.
Otherwise, the tenant could get charged for that later. It's also a finding. If you do a REAC and you have more than, I think it's 2 screens missing on a building, that's a finding. Again, there's paint on this. Like, oh, funny. Do you get these exterminated whenever, before somebody moves in? So that's what I would do too here, is part of your churn, have them come spray it, and then within 10 days of somebody moving in, spray it again. That way if they brought any creatures with them, they get killed. And have them spray it with a different spray. So actually tell your person that when they come in to the exterminator, spray it, and then when they come back 10 days later, they need to spray it with a different spray. Because there's multiple different kinds, and bugs get immune to the spray that they put everywhere.
Do I need to cop all this in, Sandy?
Yeah,
These
I
gaps and
would.
stuff?
Yeah, just to make it look clean
Yeah.
and nice and to keep bugs out.
Right.
So when you inspect, if you notice, I started at that wall and I came, I started over there at the door and then I went this way.
Right.
That's what you do. If you follow the wall along, you'll hit every room multiple times.
Right.
Okay? So now we're gonna go in the bedroom and I already see they obviously didn't take that off and paint it whenever they turned the unit. The outlet covers again are the nasty yellow. Of course, you can't see that too good in here because the light's pretty dim. But like this, you're gonna wanna caulk that or paint it or do whatever we need to do to fix that. So these pull cords, do we know if they work?
They do.
Okay, so we have to test them. So every time you do a unit inspection, you need to test them. Is this the original string?
Yes.
So I can tell by how it feels disgusting. So I would order a new string, and as you turn these units, replace them. If I click this, what's gonna happen?
It'll buzz outside.
Perfect, it did buzz. So that's what you wanna do. You wanna make sure the light comes on, and then it buzzes. That was loud. And that's an old-fashioned cover for a cable or a phone. I would just redo all these outlet covers in here. I'm not exactly sure. You can probably find one like this, I bet, that has that hole out of it.
I can use the cable
Yeah,
outlet.
you could do that
If I need to
too.
make it bigger, I can make it bigger.
Yeah,
So,
just so it don't look all janky. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So, yeah, and then again, there's paint on that outlet. I mean, all of them, they should have just taken them off and put them in a bucket. Here's another window. No, the opposite way. What's that? You got them the wrong way.
You sure?
Yeah. You don't have that one all the way.
Oh.
Okay. Again, I would have the cleaning people clean that windowsill out. Just because it's just a better product, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then, not all of them have curtain rods. If they do and you want to leave them, that's fine. If they don't, or if they do and you want to take them off, you have to make sure, again, you fill in the holes and paint over it so it doesn't look like they were there. And then, this is the back door. So again, you want to check the lock, check the door, make sure that when you shut it, it shuts. And we're gonna open it. They still have left all that on there, so we'll want to take that off. And then the light, it came on. And it went off. And then you just want to come out here. So I would have the cleaning people clean that up when they're cleaning, or you when you're turning the unit, because again, we don't want it all nasty. And all that stuff's just gonna blow inside this air conditioning unit anyway. And then something just to keep in mind, right? Over time, these get really rusty.
Mm-hmm.
If you put it on your preventative maintenance schedule to where every spring you go around and you know what I mean, you spray them with Rust-Oleum,
Okay.
you'll never have them rust and they'll always look pretty and new. You can
Is
take
there
a
a clear that clear Rust-Oleum or the same color?
There's probably a clear.
Clear,
Yeah, if
okay.
you start it with clear, you could probably keep going with clear
Right.
forever.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then down here, you're going to want to take a leaf blower and blow these out. So like periodically go do it. At the end of the season, do it.
Right.
At the beginning of the season, do it. The longer the life we can get out of these, the better for the property owner.
Right.
and the property itself, you know what I mean, the budget itself. So this is a REAC finding, a huge REAC finding. It has to be shut and it has to be locked. So it's not lining up somewhere because there's paint right here, but there's a little thing right here that should stick out this hole right here. And when it does that, then you put a zip tie on there. We have some newer zip ties that are actually little clips. I saw one laying around somewhere.
It's supposed to go up in there.
Yeah, so that we need to fix because that's a REAC finding. But like that blue thing down there in the corner, I don't know if that's part of an old clip, but we can get the clips from HD Supply or you can get zip ties. If you just carry around zip ties with you everywhere you go, and anything, just zip tie it up. Just to be safe for a REAC.
And then all this needs to be trimmed,
This
right?
bush, yes. So you need to have, there can't be nothing touching a building at all, nothing. So you need to have them just come, whack this. I would do it all the way to past the edge of this gutter, because all that's gonna do is drop leaves in your gutter, clog it up. It's gonna bend the gutter, wind's gonna blow, it's gonna mess stuff up in there. So you're gonna want to have them cut that down back, have them cut these bushes all back from the building. You want a big space, so then that way it's all clear. That way there's not bugs there, rodents there. It eliminates all kinds of stuff. You don't want any of this stuff on the sidewalk or over the sidewalk. You want this, like this is right in my face. I'm gonna walk right into it. You know what I mean? You want all this. I would trim all of this even with your concrete edge right there. All of this part of the tree up and down. All this side of the tree at the back. And then when you come out here, yeah, you need to cut it. It's on the roof. You need to make it so it's not touching the roof. So if you have them do it on the edge like that and at the back, that'll take care of that problem with that tree. And I mean, if you wanted to trim it back to make it look more manicured, because it just looks like a big old wild bush, you know?
Yeah, this is one they were supposed to remove too.
Yeah. But why didn't
It's so
they?
close to the building.
Right. So either, I mean, I would have them just trim it up to make it look better.
Yeah.
Hi. Are you looking for us?
I guess so.
Okay. Somebody for the office.
You got a door?
Huh?
You got a door for us?
Door?
Yeah.
No, chairs.
So the furniture. Okay.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Okay. So then you're gonna want to make sure. Do you see the gutters? That they're all even, that they're all attached to the wall, that they're not smashed. A lot of times at the bottom of those, they get squished together and they don't flow. The whole purpose of them is to get the water away from the building. That one, I would imagine, when there's water in that little splash guard thing, splash pad at the bottom, I imagine that it doesn't really flow away from the building because it's sitting straight, so water just probably hangs out in there. You want it a little bit angled so that it's flowing the water away. So I don't know if you want it, you could put like a rock at the other side of it, something to make it up a little bit at an angle. So on this unit that we're still doing, again, that's what you want to do here. You want to make sure that it's all attached everywhere, all the way from the gutter all the way down. You want to make sure it's attached to the wall. All of this is together. None of it's squished, and at the bottom that it's flowing. So this one, it's flowing away. You can tell because the way that it's, like that. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. All right. I'll go back in here. And we're gonna get the floor all wet. But then we got bugs in here too. Okay. Then this is the bathroom.
No.
Oh, it's a closet. So you want to make sure that boy, if it was the bathroom, we'd have been missing a lot of stuff then, huh? You want to make sure that the door, again, latches. They have two of these on here, and I'm not exactly sure why. So I guarantee they make one that you could replace this with. This is not the way that we like things to be done. So you're gonna want to do whatever it is that needs to be done to fix that the proper way. Either replace it with a thick one, or I don't know what the reason is they did that. We'll have to figure it out. Of course, we made sure the light works. You want to make sure this piece of wood comes out of here. I don't know what it's in here for. It doesn't look like they did too much in here on the flooring, on the trim. So we want to make that look better, like even in the corner there, you know.
Yep.
You want to make it look finished. And then on this, I would take some goof off or whatever. It just looks like this stuff comes right off. It's just drywall mud, I think.
Yeah.
So you want to get that off. Just, I mean, it doesn't mess with the integrity, but it just makes it look like we don't care, like a sloppy job. Then you want to open up your breaker box. You want to run your fingers along the breakers and make sure there's no loose breakers. Okay, if there are, you probably need an electrician to come fix it. You know what I mean, if you don't know how to do that. Any spaces in there, like I can stick my fingernail in there, that's a finding on a REACT, because you can stick a pencil or a knife in there. You could zap yourself. We wouldn't, but a tenant could. This gap up here, it's too big. So there's blanks that you can put in here. They used to do electric tape, but you can't do that anymore because REACT figured out that's what we were all doing. So we just need to figure out what to do to, you know, either get a bigger piece right there or something to make it so that there's no spaces like that. And I would just, because these guys wrote on here, I would just make sure that these are all right. So then that way in the future.
Yeah.
Because, and these are pretty high up here too. So like if you were a person in a wheelchair and you had to reach those, you'd have a hard time. So, I mean, we want to make sure that they're labeled right in case somebody in a wheelchair had to reach something up there to flip one off. And that's something that you should go over with tenants when they move in, is where their breakers are, which we'll do that today when we go through this unit with the tenant. And again, you want to make sure, so like I shut that door, watch, this is a problem. So even though they have their little makeshift thingy, when you shut this door, it doesn't snap. You have to actually push it hard to make that. That is not acceptable. That's a REACT finding. So it has to do it on its own. You cannot have to push it like, you should not have to push it like that to make it work.
That was addressed as well on several.
Then these, I'm not exactly sure why there's a GFI in the middle of this wall. However, you just want to test it, make sure it works. Do we know what that vent is?
No clue.
So this baby vent, we want to get that paint off of it just so that it, again, looks finished. That's the fan, and that's the light. So, to me, I would think the light would be first. It doesn't look like they painted this wall properly. It's like two different colors of paint. You can tell, look in the camera, how they've missed it. So that's something we would catch on our turn. Again, a vent, you know, when you want to take them all down or wash them every time you do a turn. You want to make sure the water works. Yeah. And the caulking needs to be better than that. And then here's another one of these. You want to test it. And wash it off to the series. You want to make sure while that water is running, I turned it towards hot so we can make sure it really has hot water. You want to open this and just make sure it's clean and finished. And it is.
there's not anything on it, too.
Right. So that must be the cold side then. And it's not on the hot. Then you want to make sure that there's no leaks. And another thing, so do you see the gaps around these holes? They can't be like that either. That's react finding. So either, yeah, so either there's a cover you can get for them, or you can
Yeah.
put that insulation, that spray insulation. But if you buy that, make sure it's really neat on there instead of
Right.
all like crappy.
I'd rather just put the cover on there.
Yeah, it'll look better. It'll look neater. So, okay. And like the cleaning people, we need to really like talk to them. Is it hot? Hot. Okay. So the cleaning people, we need to talk to them about like, especially with new construction, 'cause that's pretty much what this would be, like getting all of this dust off of here, because we don't want someone moving into an apartment that looks like that either.
Right.
This edge is jacked up. Has anybody lived in this unit at all since it was
No.
turned? Yeah.
No.
So, I'm not sure what you could do to clean this up because it looks bad. Like maybe caulk it all the way down, so then it
Yeah.
doesn't look like that. I mean, not necessarily. Do you normally caulk cabinets like that? But there's usually not a gap like that either. I think probably what happened is the cove base got put on before they put the cabinet in, and then they, instead of cutting that cove base away to make it flush,
Right.
they just put it out like that. So we just need to do whatever to caulk that so that it looks finished. This, you can tell where that was. It's not a react finding, it just looks tacky. So when I would turn it the next time, I would sand that down, refinish it, make it look better. Yeah, the paint job in here is not good. This is a little worrisome because this tells me that there has been a leak here. So, and it's also over here. So that tells me we need to figure out if there's a leak in the ceiling. Also this. So, we're moving somebody in here today.
No.
No?
No. We've already. It's a different.
It's, oh, okay. So I think that we need to check this out. Because obviously there's water getting in here from somewhere. And that's just gonna cause a major issue.
Because
It's not wet right now, but it's if you feel it, it's
Yeah.
not dried up either.
this is one of the units that did have a leak, and the contractors did fix. They said that they fixed all the leaks in the roofs where there were issues.
But they didn't fix the walls.
I guess not.
Okay. So we're gonna have to do that to make it look better. Then, do you see in these tiles, these cracks? That's not gonna hold water, so that's going to mess with the integrity of that wall. So we need to make sure that we put the grout or whatever it is that's in these tiles, put it in there. The cleaning people, they need to clean this better. Like they need to like spray it down, let it sit while they're cleaning the rest of the unit, and then at the end come back and clean it so that it's not spotty, so that all the watermarks get off, and so it's a shiny product for somebody. You know what I mean?
And this unit has not been cleaned yet,
Okay.
so
So this, there is mold under here. I knew it. So we need to clean that mold out of there and do something to clean that soap holder because it's all nasty underneath there. We need to make sure we seal it, and that little tile, if you can tell right here, this tile is not connected, like it's coming
Yeah.
off. So we need to take it off, clean the mold, and then attach it. Yeah. Like in all this is where the old ones were. So it should be sanded and repainted to make it look nice. All this that's on here, like it needs to be cleaned. All the nastiness that's coming off of there. Okay, then your toilet, I missed it. You gotta flush it. Make sure it flushes. So it should have the little caps. It doesn't. You also want to put your knee up against this toilet and make sure it don't move. Okay? You want to make sure that the toilet seat is good. You want to make sure it's not running, which it's not. You can't have any cracks in this. You can't have any cracks in here. If it's sweating, that means you got a leak somewhere. If you want to know if you got water leaking in toilets, you go around, you put some food dye up in the tank, and then if it comes into the bowl, then that's how you can tell if you have a leak in the little thingy. I would take the something and remove all that caulking and nastiness from back there, because when I clean my toilet at home, I clean the entire toilet everywhere. Not everybody does that, but I do know that I've had many of them where this thing is just disgusting, and it takes me months to get it cleaned the right way when I live there, and the back hurt. And so it'd be nice if somebody moved in with a brand new toilet and it all did look brand new.
Yeah.
This is a huge REACT finding because it's tied up. So obviously it has to be on the ground. But again, this is nasty and old. I can tell by touching it. And the caulking around it looks like crap. So we're gonna test it again. It went off. There's no light on this one, but you have to test them all. They all have to work. If they're there, it has to work, no matter what it is. If it's there, it has to function as intended. So if you just keep that as a rule of thumb everywhere, then it'll help you with REACT findings. So then let's look in these closets. I don't know. So yeah, so they need to clean them. And I mean, I would maybe make it a practice to paint these with some kind of paint, not flat paint, but some kind of gloss paint where it's easy to wipe it off for a tenant and for us. And then this isn't finished right here in the edge. And so, I mean, maybe he can just caulk that. Obviously, there's still nail polish left in here too from the old tenant. You want to make sure all of this is good. I would even have them maybe treat this good with like Murphy's oil soap or something, just so that it doesn't, you know what I mean, just to keep it as nice as you can while, you know what I mean. And then again, the door, this door is too stiff. So the first thing you're gonna do is see if it's the hinges. It doesn't look like it is. They look like they're good. So let me try this again. It's at the top. Right there. So whatever this is right here, this is what's causing, this is bent out, I could tell. You can touch it and feel it. That's what's keeping your door from closing. So if you shave that or sand that down and repaint that, it'll close. This is odd. I would have probably swapped those out and made the fan on the back side. Oh, okay. And then there's another vent that we want to make sure gets cleaned before somebody moves in. And this door does not latch either. So do you see that, how I'm doing it? It has to latch. Okay. Now we're gonna go in here. This is, did they inspect these? When did these get put on? Do you know?
They just came and put them up. I don't
Okay, so, because this is a HUD property and that's a REACT finding, there is nothing on here saying that it's been inspected. So when they come to do your annual inspections on the ones on the outside of the buildings, they need to make sure they inspect all these, which is a big pain in the neck and a huge potential for REACT findings, because you'll forget and they'll forget and we'll all forget. So we need to make sure that when you're doing unit inspections, that you make sure there's a tag on there. And then this is fancy and dirty. So whenever we go to move somebody into here, you're gonna wanna show them how to operate this, because this is too much for a lot of people.
It's a lot for me. I don't even know how to work it. And there was no manual left on how to work it.
So we're gonna
If we
look
have
up a
any
manual.
questions, we're supposed to call these people.
Okay, well, what we're gonna do is we're gonna look this model up ourselves online, and we're gonna teach ourselves how to operate it so we can teach our tenants. Because you're gonna get so many calls.
We already have.
Yes, and that's why, because they don't know how to function.
Yeah.
So this is fancy and it's all nice and everything, but people have to know how to use them. So, okay, this is a react finding. This is a hole in a door, so it needs to be finished. So, is the hole there because of this?
From the old one.
From the old one? Okay, so we need to fix that. And then I would just get this cleaned. And like I said, like in the bathroom, like just as preventative maintenance, when you go to do turns, I would just paint those shelves with like a gloss paint so people can easily wipe them off.
These were actually painted in
Yeah.
this unit, but not all units were painted.
Yeah, so I would do that just to, and this is dirty, like that whole thing is dirty.
Yeah.
I mean, they need to, so the cleaning people need to really do deep cleaning on all of these. And again, there's a vent, it's dirty, it needs to be cleaned. This paint needs to be touched up. This door has a big gap right here. That needs to be done.
You have to read finding too.
Yeah, it is. It's probably not big enough to be a react finding, but yeah. I would fix the gap in where the trim is and stuff over here because of bugs. You know what I mean? You live in a place where there's lots of bugs. What is the metal strap for? The old hot water heater, I guess.
It was the old vent that ran up here.
So I would remove that because you don't need it anymore, and it's just, first of all, it's nonsense to have. Second of all, it's a sharp edge. It could be a react finding. Somebody could get cut on that. I would repaint these like as you do them because they've obviously been painted crappy, and it looks to me like they just decided not to screw the screws the rest of the way in.
Yeah.
So I would just screw them all the way in so it looks sealed, and then maybe caulk around the edges or do something around the edges of this so it looks finished. And then these holes the little tiny holes need to be patched. The furnace closet is one that's a huge react hit as well. This stuff you don't want on here. This needs to go to the office. These obviously are two of the exact same thing. So we could read that book right there.
Yeah, I'm
and
sitting
actually
Google it.
we can print off some of the instructions in here to send to the tenants.
Yeah.
And put them in a move-in packet, and then that way everybody knows exactly how to operate their thermostat.
Awesome.
Okay. Yeah, so this, I would have the cleaning people dust it off because it's nasty.
Yeah,
All
this
of
is
that-
the brand new unit that it was put in.
All of that spray insulation that's on the side is a react finding nowadays.
Yeah.
We had a building in St. George actually that had a rehab about 12 years ago, and just this year they got us on that. And it's been, that insulation's been sprayed down the side of the wall since the rehab, and they just hit us on a react for it. So you want to make sure you clean all that stuff up so it's not looking like that. This wall over here is not finished.